Hello friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get right into it, guys. Write tickets inappropriately and tow cars? You'll have to eat crow while I laugh. Over 20 years ago, I lived in an apartment complex made up of several buildings, each with about 60 units, and each building has only 15 garage spots and about 20 parking spaces, so the majority must park on the street on a long drive. There was going to be a re-tarring project, and a couple days before, temporary no parking signs were placed up for Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. along the street. It was a Monday, and a holiday, so a lot of people were home. And my roommates and I heard a loud sound outside and saw cars being towed, including mine, and a police officer writing tickets and placing them on all the cars before being towed. I ran outside and up to the officer and asked why he was ticketing the cars, and he pointed at the sign. I said, "It is Monday, and the sign says Tuesday. We just have to move them by 8 a.m. tomorrow." At the time, I was just 21 and was often mistaken for being a very young teen. The jerk responded, "I don't care if it says Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. If I see a no parking sign, I'm not going to park there. Tell your mommy and daddy that their cars are moved up the street and they have to pay a $50 ticket and a $190 tow fee." It might have been slightly different amounts, but pretty close. I asked for his badge number, which he refused, and then he continued to ignore me. I ran back into my apartment and called the local station. At first, I got the runaround until I asked for IA, and was finally passed to this guy's lieutenant, a woman. When I told her what had happened as well as his attitude, she said she'd have to come down to see the signs herself. About 15 minutes later, she arrived, and she pointed out the weekday to him. I had the distinct impression that he had a problem with women in general, but especially ones who challenge him, like myself and his lieutenant, and she seemed to appreciate my indignant anger at his infantilization of me. All of the tickets had to be removed and the ticket numbers needed to be accounted for. She made him apologize to my grinning face, and he had to write out an apology to each of the owners of each of the cars explaining his mistake, and that if there was any damage to contact him or his lieutenant. This took tons of time, so my roommates and I set up lawn chairs and sat eating popcorn and grinning ear to ear while we watched. The absolute delight I felt at the ass having to make a record of each of those tickets and write an apology note will forever bring me a little satisfaction. He thought he could abuse his little petty power, so I got my little petty revenge. This is definitely a situation of an officer obviously abusing his power just because he didn't think anyone would challenge him. So I guess sometimes all it really takes is for someone to actually stand up to it. I've heard of many situations of someone unrightfully getting a ticket and they end up contesting it at the court date. Then the cop just doesn't show up at the hearing, so the ticket gets dismissed. So it seems when certain officers do stuff like this, they're just counting on the fact that people will take their word for it and not do anything about it and just pay the ticket. Because that's unfortunately what a lot of people probably do, since they just don't want to deal with it, and the cop ends up just getting away with it. Metered on-ramps. Back when metered on-ramps were first installed on the main highway in my town in Oregon, the interval between lights on the ramp I used daily was 15 seconds. Cars would be backed up onto the adjacent feeder streets, and you could be stuck for 15 to 20 minutes on the ramp. Took a bit of research to find out that it wasn't the city or county, but ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, that controlled them. After repeated complaints and no action, I finally got the names of the 2 ODOT traffic engineers responsible for setting the light intervals. I made numerous voicemails and finally had one discussion, but still no fix to the issue. Well, back in the day, early 2000s, we still had phone books, and both these engineers had listed home phone numbers. I got a 4x8 piece of plywood and painted and lettered it. Tired of these idiotic ramp lights? Call the ODOT engineers responsible for them. Dennis blank at blank phone number, Bill blank at blank phone number, and let them know what you think. I stood with it on the side of the ramp for 2 days, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The next day, I get a call from one of them, don't remember which, begging me to stop. I said, "Fix the f***ing lights." "You'll stop with the sign?" he asked. "Fix the f***ing lights," I said again. The very next day, they had a survey crew out there in the afternoon to count cars. And the day after that, the lights were reset to 3 seconds between cars. Bottom line, when dealing with government, until those personally responsible are held accountable in a matter that inconveniences or scares them, they will continue to abuse the public, whether from negligence, incompetence, or malice. But bring it home to them and they will grudgingly change their ways. Neighbor committed arson on my property and police are not recommending charges. We are in Texas, outside of city limits. The situation is complicated due to ongoing harassment. I will try to add enough context for background leading up to the actual event and how the county sheriff's office has responded. Our neighbor has been harassing us for years. We repeatedly asked him not to contact us and filed multiple police reports on recommendation from our lawyer to document his harassment, resulting in the sheriff's office telling us that it is a civil matter and not criminal, so there was nothing they could do. About a year ago, we filed a civil lawsuit for harassment with hours of video footage. The list includes stalking, defamation, threatening to kill our dogs, and much, much more. We have moved due to the last incident, which put us in fear for our lives and prompted the lawsuit due to the sheriff's utter lack of an investigation. 2 months ago, our neighbor came onto our property, which is a vacant lot adjacent to our home, and he cut down the majority of the trees and then set fire to them. We only noticed after the fire reached above the tree line, and the fire department had to respond. We had everything on video. When the sheriff responded, our neighbor lied to the officer, stating he was the caretaker. At first, the officer was dismissive and thought it was a misunderstanding on our part. Then after the sheriff left the scene, our neighbor texted us that we needed to talk about maintaining our land for the community. So when the officer called us, we showed him the texts and video footage. We explained that we have a criminal trespass warning against him and that he has never been the caretaker. They said they would recommend a warrant for arson, specifically because he lied to the responding officer. 2 months go by and the case is still unassigned. We've called multiple times a week and nothing has happened. Yesterday we finally got a detective assigned, and they told us this was a neighbor squabble and would not recommend charges to the DA. We are beyond frustrated at this point. We have the civil lawsuit in which we are now seeking additional damages for the arson or committing criminal acts against us, since the sheriff's office refuses to do anything. Update: he has an active warrant for second-degree felony arson. It took 173 days, but the fire marshal finally submitted everything to the DA. I read the warrant and it is insane. My neighbor admitted to everything, including his malicious intent, all recorded on body cam footage. I'm just so relieved and hopeful that this means he will be out of our neighborhood and our lives. Am I the a-hole for saying I'll be driving myself and paying for my own room on the upcoming family vacation so I won't have to be a babysitter? I, 23 male, was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents and they paid for my hotel room. Only I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free. And then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd be driving myself, and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry, I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the but started. I stated the previously listed things as why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister, and she called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing, while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man, I deserve my vacation too. Now my sister is not speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I the a-hole for not giving in? I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. It's been barely an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings, and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help because I'm young and single, and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. Update. Well, I'm off work now, so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved. They looked at my post, and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here. But I told them that if they'd just listened to me to begin with, I'd never have needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They in turn went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been cancelled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway. But my parents are arguing with my sister is blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Small update. I wasn't gonna update again, but here's a little more. Parents said that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again, and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented, you made my day. And to give a bit of perspective on the fact that OP's family has seen OP's post, including the comments, there are over 7,000 comments and counting. And just scrolling through them, I can't find a single person that is actually siding with OP's family. Really kind of puts things into perspective for them, doesn't it? When over 7,000 people on the internet are discussing their family drama, and almost every single person is siding with OP. But yeah, OP is not the a-hole here for just wanting to enjoy his vacation. OP's sister saying that he's ruining the vacation by making her take care of her own kids is honestly just admitting that she'd rather ruin his vacation instead. Anyway guys, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So have an awesome day, take care, and I'll see you next time.